So here's what I found with all the interviews I did with solar. And this is kind of how I went through the process of comparing them, finding out what some of the details you want to pay attention to, and how we ultimately came to our decision. So I'm going to go in order. When you are comparing company to company, you want to look at the kilowatts that the panels are producing. So, for example, company number one says, we're going to give you 20 panels and it's going to give you 10,000 kilowatts, and another company says we're going to give you 18 panels and we're going to give you the same kilowatts. You really want to compare the kilowatts that you're getting. Okay, don't compare the panel amounts because each panels has a different output. So you want to look at overall cost for what they're putting out for the kilowatts. That's number one. I have a ton of notes here. Number two is hidden cost. So the condition and quality of your roof matters. If it's not in the right condition, if it's older, most of them are going to ask you to fix it. They should ask you to fix it because the cost to take them off, if you need to do a repair, is quite costly. So the composition shingle roof is probably the most easy or efficient for them to put on, cost wise. If you have tiles, ceramic, flat roof, those are going to cost you more because they're going to have to put special framing and modifications so that the sun angle is better. So that's something to pay attention to. The other thing is your electrical panel needs to be at a capacity newer to operate and support the solar. So there's going to be hidden costs that they're not actually getting more money for. They might have contractors to do that, but that's something to pay attention to. Now, there's credits for getting solar. There's a 30% federal tax credit that you get back. So it's just, if it's $30,000 that you paid, you should get $9,000 back in your tax credit. Unfortunately, I was finding that there was no California tax credit, but there is a California tax a rebate on battery and backup generators. There's a lot of qualifications for that, so you want to pay attention when you're looking into that. Um, Now, there's inverters that you have to get along with your panels. There's two types. There's string inverters, which is older type, and there's microinverters. You really want to go with the microinverter. Most of them offer microinverters now. So each inverter, if it goes bad, it only affects that one panel. That's for the microinverters. If you have a string inverter, if one of them goes bad or the string inverter goes bad, all the panels go down. So stick with the newer technology. Financing. Pay attention to your financing when you look at pricing. They're going to have a cash price, which is probably, it's going to be the best price. As they go up in financing, you're going to see different interest rates going to yield different pricing, and they're quite drastic. So what I asked for was different schedules of payments. So for example, if it's at 3% interest rate, what is it going to cost me? 5%, 7%, 10%. It went all the way up there. I wanted to see it because then I can see the price per month. And to me, if you plan on paying it off pretty quickly or like doubling your payments or paying extra, it might be worth it to go with the higher interest rate to get it at a good price or even refinance it. I don't know too much about that, but I've heard people refinancing their payments for the solar. Most of the loans are 20, 25 years or something like that. So kind of like buying a car. No, actually, the price is lower than a car. But anyhow, it's not too crazy. What you also want to pay attention to is warranty. The warranty, one thing I want to mention that I found out is, I was looking up these companies to make sure that they were going to stay in business to honor these warranties because they're like 20 years, 25 years, 30 in some cases. Well, what you really want to pay attention to is not the company itself because they are the salespeople. You want to look at the manufacturer that produces the panels. So, for example, I'm going with Q-Cell 400. I want to make sure that the manufacturer that produces these panels are good. It's a good company. It's been around for a little while, and so this way, if I need to go back to them and say, "Hey, I need you to honor my warranty for damages," and the company that I went with are not around as far as the salespeople go, I can still find them to take care of that. So the labor is covered by the company that you're signing up with. So the sales company, they are supposed to, I was told by law, give you 10-year labor and penetration warranty. That is for them to, that's what they're doing when they're installing the panels onto your roof. Now, pay attention to, I did mention this a little bit earlier. If you have to remove those panels, you have to call them to remove it. It does cost money. So if someone is putting on panels for you and your roof isn't that great and they're still doing it, it's going to cost you later. So just pay attention to that. So all that to say is, how are you going to pick the company you want? So I wrote down a couple of things. You want to make sure that you look into the brand of panels that you're buying, to make sure that they're decent. They don't have to be the top one. I mean, a couple of people have told me they don't have to be the top one. They're all really good. And you kind of just want to get one that's, not poorly rated. Um, the other thing is reputation. So read up what you can online. If you got a referral from someone who's happy with their solar, that's important to take into consideration, right? So if they've had issues, I mean, I've heard a lot of issues with customer service with Tesla. So I know some people love Tesla, some people don't. That's something I paid attention to when I was looking through all of this. A big factor here is cost. I got such drastic numbers from company to company on cost. I mean, some of them were double. So the one I went with was, a good balance of everything. And then lastly, what their customer service is when you talk with them. You want to make sure they answered your questions and, you know, made sure that they addressed any issues that you had, right? So those are some things that want to kind of look at, and that I hope this helps you to kind of compare apples to apples from company to company. And it's hard to say. Some people pay for the top grade stuff. I kind of went middle tier, and I asked this really important question that I like to ask all the time is, what kind of panels did you get? Or what, if this was you or your family, what would you recommend? And the gentleman that was selling these panels had two kinds. He goes, there was one that was, I can't remember the name, was Alpha, something something. He goes, this is top grade. He goes, it costs more money, but he goes, the Q cell are great. He goes, they're not as expensive. He goes, I put them on my house, I put them on my dad's house. He goes, you can't go wrong. And that was good enough for me. So I hope this was helpful. Um, get this in right away, because if you are under, so NEM only affects those that are under Pacific Gas, PG&E, and Edison, where there's a due date by April 13th that you have to have these installed by. You are under a certain guideline or timeline to get this done so that you don't have to fall under the NEM 3.0. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.